second serving, one of the most important shots in tennis.
Follow our tips to turn your second serve into an attacking weapon.
Today we're going to be taking you through our favourite tips to improve and optimise your kick serve.
Yeah, so a kick serve is a topspin serve, often used as a second serve. And by kick, what we mean is a ball that is going to jump from left to right, if you're a right-hander that is. So when the ball lands, it doesn't just bounce up, it's going to kick sideways as well, and that is a kick serve.
And it's so effective because obviously a second serve tends to be slower through the air because you've got to be a little bit more careful because you don't want to make that double fault. So having a serve that spins and changes direction makes it harder to return or harder to attack the return, meaning that you don't just get absolutely pummeled on return as the second server, that actually maybe you can turn that into attack yourself.
Yes, one of the most common things we see at club level tennis, and a few levels above as well, is second serves that just sort of dolly over the net, just a slower first serve, not really doing anything other than just getting the point started. With a good kick serve, you can not only get the point started with a nice attacking serve, but you might also be able to actually win some points off of it straight away.
Yeah, I'd say also obviously a lot of tennis in the UK is doubles based, and having a good kick serve when playing doubles I think is almost doubly important because it's that bit slower through the air, gives you more time to serve and volley behind it so you can get into a more attacking court position, again piling even more pressure on that returner. So it's definitely a good one to have in your locker.
Yes, and finally, if you look at pro tennis, all the greatest players have had brilliant kick serves. There is a saying in tennis, you're only as good as your second serve. Let's make our second serves a lot better, shall we?
So myself and Ben are going to go through our personal favourite teaching points, things that we often are saying to our customers, to our players, of ways to improve their kick serve, to then highlight for you the best concepts to ensure your second serve is kicking like a mule.
Excellent.
So before we get into our top tips, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, core concept of a kick serve?
Core concept of a kick serve is it is a top spin serve. So rather than going through the ball as you would for a flat first serve, we are going to go up and over, creating top spin and or kick.
Yeah, so like a topspin forehand where your racket would come from underneath and brush up and over, it's the same concept. So your ball contact is going to probably be a bit lower because you've got to start with your racket below it and come up with the ball, finishing at a higher point. So a flat first serve, your contact point is going to be really high coming down. This one's going to be a little bit lower because you're going to take the ball up there. The ball's going to leave your racket going up as opposed to down on a normal serve.
Yep.
So do we have a quick little way of highlighting that?
I think you should get on your knees.
Oh. So it's easier for Ben to show. If I was here, my first serve would normally be contacting up here. On that kick serve, I'm going to come down from below it so I can brush up and sweep up and over the ball as I come through. And it's that action that's going to generate the topspin and the kick. So that's the basics of this kick serve, is that we come up, over the ball rather than through it. All right, now let's make it better. So our first concept here is to try and deal with the common mistake of the topspin serve or the kick serve having the right action on it and having the right spin, but just being slow and a bit kind.
Yeah, so the problem we see is that obviously it's a second serve and people are a bit nervous, don't want to double fault, and it creates this sort of level of tension and safety, which isn't necessarily going to help get a good kick serve. So the only way through is power and speed, right? You have to sort of throw caution to the wind and sort of just attack your way through this serve. And the sensation therefore is
well, the sensation is going to depend based on your personal preference, but it needs to be one that has that top spin element of coming up the ball, so a brush or a roll, but equally has speed and sharpness in it, which is why lots of people like things like rip, where you're almost imagining your strings are ripping the felt off the ball as you're really coming up with speed and aggression. The other really important benefit of this is by having and choosing that fast sensation and always having it, your kick serve and your second serve will always be the same. It'll always be quick. You never have to go, oh yeah, I want it to be like 80% of my top speed, which is the problem that loads of people have with their second serves and start trying to pushing them and slowing them down. No, you want to pick a sensation, do it the same every time, so you become confident and comfortable at that level. So make sure you choose a good sensation like rip and then stick with it.
Cool, so tip 1, rip the ball. Right, let's see a rip then, Joshua.
Our next tip for you to improve that kick serve is all about ball placement and weight transfers. It's kind of a 2-in-1 because the ball placement leads to the weight transfer.
Yes, if your ball toss goes into the court, as in you let go forwards, like you would on a flat first serve potentially, your weight is travelling in and through.
And your contact is going forwards rather than
up. So on a kick serve, we need to make sure that our weight is going up, and for a right-hander, especially if you want a bit of kick, we want a little bit of left to right as well. So we essentially, rather than driving into the court, we're driving straight up. So the ball toss needs to come back towards you slightly, straight up, maybe a little bit over your head. For slightly weaker players, sometimes find it a bit easier to bring the ball toss back over your head a little bit. But as long as you are not diving into the court, you should be able to get way more kick from a ball toss that is back behind you.
I have 2 really good ways of A, practicing, and B, almost kind of drilling and mentally kind of understanding this idea. The first one is to, in your head as you're serving, to imagine you've got a wall in front of you. So the baseline itself has a wall, brick wall coming straight up, and everything you do has to stay behind the wall. So you have to come head up, left arm up, ball toss up, driving up, finishing across, not forwards. So everything stays behind the court, and therefore allows all your energy to go into spin creation and the ball going up rather than drifting forwards.
What's the second one?
So the second one, you can do this actually more physically by standing behind a fence. So you can actually go behind the fence and practice that kick serve going up over it from really close. And actually we may be able to show you that now. The next tip is really our best kept secret. This is a way of not only training and developing, but within a game situation, making sure that you don't lose that kind of mental focus of how to really execute this shot.
Yes, and it is all about using your environment to drive your, like Josh said, your practice and your performance, essentially. So what we are trying to do is picking targets and challenges that are going to force us into the result we want. So, for example, we are here at this the club we're at here. We've got a beautiful Babolat logo running down the side of the court. So in my head, when I am coming up to execute my kick serve, I am trying to get the ball to hit that logo. I'm not looking for over and in. That's too safe. That would be a defensive, cautious, worried, scared second serve. I am looking to be positive and aggressive, and I'm going to rip my kick serve so fast and so hard that it's going to drive off the surface and bounce sideways into that side fence.
So why this is such a kind of unique way of looking at it is we are using what's called a constraint-led approach. We're using a environmental target to ensure we get the right process and the right technique or right shot or right software, or whatever you want to call it, to use, and we're able to know whether it was correct or not based on whether we had the right racket angle or the take back was right or the biomechanics were right. It was just the outcome. And so if we're making sure the outcome is correct, however we get there, it's kind of less important.
Yeah, and obviously we're all going to have our own solutions. We've all got different strengths, weaknesses, postures, like muscle tone, strength, flexibility. All of this comes down to it. So there isn't a correct way of performing a kick serve. We're all going to have slight different nuances, different technical changes we have to make. So there's no point religiously and repetitively trying to repeat a motion. What does matter is that we're getting that ball jumping sideways and causing trouble for our opponent. The added benefit comes when the match starts. You've got the same target still there. You are practicing exactly, you're performing, exactly what you've been practicing, which is loading that ball with so much speed and so much spin that your opponent isn't going to be able to handle it as it goes darting to the side of them. So there we have it. Number 1, pick an aggressive topspin sensation. Josh likes a rip, I like a kick. Number 2, make sure your weight is staying out of the court. Do not go in, try and get your weight to go up and out.
And use your ball toss to do this by keeping that ball toss straight up and level or behind the baseline. It will ensure you don't drift forwards.
And number 3 is use your environment, use your court to drive your process. It's going to make your practice more fun, it's going to make your practice more effective, and it's going to lead your practice into a better match performance.
If you enjoyed those 3 tips and want more, the people obviously would like more, please leave us a comment if there's any other shots in tennis that you'd like our top 3 tips on, or any amount of tips. Maybe you want our 7 tips for a killer drop shot, I don't know. Leave a comment. We always love to hear other ways of doing things. If you've got any other points or ways that you've heard or used to develop your kick serve, let us know and we'll give you our thoughts and opinions on them.
Once again, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more from PH Tennis.